Hey, welcome to your Selah Moment for today. We hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. We want to start off today picking up where we left off last week. Last week we spoke a little bit about normal, this word normal. And we defined it like this. We said normal refers to the conforming to a standard, to a type, or to a regular pattern. This term normal refers to something that is typical or it's natural. It's what most people do. While somebody who is abnormal would do exactly what the opposite of that is. Basically, we summed it up in this sentence. We said behavior that is typical, it's expected, and here's the important part. It says, and it adjusts to a standard that society has put into place. Basically, what we're saying is that normal is defined by society. So let's take a few moments to look at normality when it refers to our finances. Today we're in Matthew chapter 6. We're looking at verses 19 through 21. This passage is referred to as treasures in heaven. 19 starts off this way. It says, do not store up for yourself treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But, to the contrary, it says, but store up for yourself treasures in heaven, where moth and vermin do not destroy, and where the thieves do not break in and steal. Then he sums it up this way in verse 21. He says, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So everywhere you look, things are always calling out for your attention. I mean, if you watch TV, all the ads, everything, it's calling you to buy this or you need this. If you do this, it'll make your life this much easier. And then you start to think to yourself, man, how have I lived so long without this product? This such innovative product. But before you know it, material possessions start to pull at us. You'll find yourself in a toxic relationship with the things that you desire and what you're willing to pay for them. And if we don't get control of it quickly, our lives start to spiral in one degree or another. We find ourselves with more debt than we want, and we also find ourselves with more things than we need. And we manage to justify it all by saying, well, debt is normal. You know, the average American household has about $6,000 in credit card debt alone. You know, the normal way of spending and managing our finances doesn't leave us in a good place. What's normal is that we would see, if we use the societal scale, the one that we defined earlier, is that we would spend every bit of our income and not save much for the future. It's also normal to go into debt and to never pay things off. You know, it's normal for us to think that as long as we can afford the payment, we're good. Our reflection today is by no means a financial class or course. This is not Dave Ramsey today, but instead it's a call for us to reflect on our calling as believers, not just to be normal, but to be transformed, to be better than normal. So the Bible has a lot to say about finances. This one topic in the scriptures is talked about more than anything else. And it doesn't tell you how to spend your money or what to buy, but it actually warns us time and time again that money does not satisfy. We see that in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 10, where it says, whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. We find that verse in the middle of the author telling us all these things that are meaningless, but he hits it on the head with this one. In this passage that we opened up with in Matthew chapter 6, verse 19 through 21, Jesus is talking to us about money, and he warns us about accumulating worldly treasures. Instead, what he does here is he tells us to acquire heavenly treasures. It's funny because he uses the word treasures for both, but I think he's implying here that the things of this world are no treasures by any means, because they can be destroyed, because they can be stolen. But the treasures that we have in heaven are true treasures, because they are worth more than anything that the world could possibly offer us. And heavenly treasures can't be taken away from us, nor can they rot or stolen. But Jesus gives us a bit of insight in verse 21. He says that our hearts will follow where we've placed our treasures. It says in verse 21, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So we see that Jesus isn't concerned with what we think about our treasures, but he's showing us that whatever you value, you will naturally be inclined to follow. And then he's saying something even more profound in verse 24. He says, no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and you'll love the other, or you'll be devoted to one and you'll despise the other. You can't serve both God and money, is what he says. So not only will these things that we identify as treasures draw us naturally, but he even goes as far as to say that they will become your master. And this is what we see in the normalcy of the world. We see they make the things their gods. And so when we're talking about normal versus better than normal, one author says it this way. He says normal focuses on accumulating, while better than normal gives to others. Normal allows money to lead, where better than normal seeks to be led by God. Normal keeps 100% of what it makes, and it isn't enough. While better than normal says give to God first, and He will supply all of your needs. Normal doesn't think ahead, while better than normal lives by a plan. Normal is enslaved to debt, while better than normal saves to pay in full. Normal thinks of today, while better than normal invests in the future. It invests in heaven. And we all know that money itself isn't the problem. But if we allow it, it can easily replace at least our perspective of what God is. Money is meant to be used. It's not meant to use us and to control us. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10 says it this way. For the love of money, all too often we get that mixed up and we say it's the money, but it's the love of money is the root of all evil, or all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. But the good news is Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5 says it this way. Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, never will I leave you and never will I forsake you. God has called His people to live better than normal, and we only accomplish this by setting our eyes on Him. I'll close our time today in Psalm 23. It says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, and you anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. God bless you. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you for joining us. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss the video. See you next time.